Shut up! I just wanted to say hi to.
Shut up! Face the wall. Turn around. Turn around.
Give me your hat.
Yeah. And you weren't really sparring. You were fighting. We were fighting all the time. And guys getting dropped all the time. And that was just the kind of gym that I was in.
But this wasn't a real fight. He was pulling punches. He wasn't giving it his full effort.
So here's what went down with Joe Rogan and all this Jake Paul drama that's been blowing up everywhere. Rogan stepped up with this massive warning about the rumors flying around regarding Jake's supposed arrest for allegedly rigging boxing matches. And honestly, his response has been next level intense.
You can't think, you can't do things, you don't know what the fuck you're doing in life. It's like literally everything is the quality of your ability to think. And I knew that I was putting that.
The UFC commentator dropped some seriously heavy wisdom here, making it brutally clear that no amount of fame or cash is worth gambling with your actual existence. We're not talking hypotheticals either. This is about legitimate life-threatening situations that happen inside those ropes, and Rogan's making damn sure everyone understands the gravity of what's at stake when you climb through those ropes.
I've seen the script, rig, this, that, and the other. Do you think now, at the very least, that talk goes away? Broke his jaw, went in there against Anthony Joshua. At the very least, do you think that you guys can move on from that? Like, that won't follow you?
No, I don't. I actually, our lawyers are actively going after a number of people. One who claims to be a lawyer himself online. I don't remember the name or the handle, but it was something that had like 200,000 likes. And basically this post said, there was an agreement for AJ not to knock out Jake, but AJ disregarded the agreement and decided to not get his payday, but knock out Jake Paul. So it's pretty astonishing what people say. Your dear friend Lou DiBella, saw him put up a bunch of ridiculous things and even said, Nikisa, go ahead and sue me. But this wasn't a real fight. He was pulling punches. He wasn't giving it his full effort.
And so for the people, again, just to clear this up, because I asked Eddie this question, I'll ask you the exact same question. Once and for all, was there any sort of arrangement as far as it should go this many rounds? Because that's the one that I've heard. Oh, Anthony agreed to 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Can you tell us in black and white if there were any talks of any kind between the network, the promotion, the fighter?
There has never once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant it would take max 2 rounds.
Word around the combat sports world is that Rogan's convinced Paul needs to take a serious step back and really think through what he's doing before he even considers another fight. The reality check here is simple but terrifying. Pursuing glory or paychecks through these dangerous matchups, especially when there's talk of manipulation or predetermined outcomes, could literally cost you everything you've worked for, or worse, cost you your life.
Because here's the thing. Look at all them celebrities like dude from the Mighty Ducks, the little boy actor that got strung out on drugs, and all his fronts and all his teeth were missing from being on meth or whatever, whatever drug of choice he was on. There's no coming back from that. The people who like dissipate their teeth through drug usage, you don't get like a second set. So if I'm not mistaken, the dude from Mighty Ducks, somebody like he's been clean and they gave him a makeover and he has like pretty much fake teeth. So yeah, the teeth are going to be cooked. Now, I agree with the other part that Rogan was saying, but let's keep going.
Yeah, I think he went into that fight knowing that was probably going to happen. Yeah. And ultimately, the big win for him would be that he was even willing to do it and that he could do well for a little bit.
Yeah, and I've already expressed my thoughts on this. I'm not giving no props for a person who says I am a real deal boxer because I went in and get smashed and got my jaw broken, but I lasted longer than Ngannou. But I was crazy enough to try, because to be honest, we're way past the honeymoon stage with a person like Jake Paul. You've been in this for long enough to go through fight camps, dedicate your time, effort, energy, money, spar with people. You spar with some quality names because you have resources and money or whatever. So we're well past that, to the point where you just get credit for stepping in. You maybe got credit your first fight or whatever, first couple of fights, for coming from your background and, you know, stepping in and fighting, but we're well past that. You have a box rec. You were being ranked by sanctioning bodies in boxing, so
That's when Rogan really cranked up the intensity on his message. He kept driving home this brutal truth that boxing will hurt you in ways you can't come back from, and fighting recklessly like this opens the door to consequences that'll haunt you forever, assuming you survive them at all.
Break him down. He said before the fight, I'm going to break him down and then I'm going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. I thought it'd be all over within 3 rounds. But, you know, when I got in the ring after, because I was shouting, just, you know, anywhere, arms. I got in, he went, what are you rushing me for? And I was like, oh, sorry. So, but like, obviously he knows what he's doing, and actually now quite pleased that we got the rounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw you said that. Really random, I was on Twitter and I saw Jake Paul's mum said she wants to get in the ring and punch you. She said she doesn't like the smug look on your face. She is promoting her book, so I'm not sure if she wants, you know. But did you see that? What did you think of that?
No, I was very sad, because I couldn't have been nicer and more respectful of Jake and what he's done. And I think Logan's amazing. I think he's an incredible athlete. And I shook Jake Paul's dad's hand in the ring, you know. And if I would have seen Mum, I would have said, all right. But I think over the years, we've obviously had our beef, and she probably don't like me anyway. And I am probably a little bit smug. I wasn't smug after the fight, because I would have been more smug if it was all over in a round. Yeah. So, no, I give Jake respect. And, yeah. Sorry, Jake's mum doesn't like me, but if she can send me a free book, that'd be fantastic.
But wait, there's another layer to this whole mess. Rogan also dropped this serious reality check about the legal nightmare that comes with getting involved in shady fight business, or participating in fixed matches. We're not just talking about your reputation taking hits here, we're talking genuine criminal exposure that could demolish everything you've spent years building up.
Been thinking, for my own credibility, I've got to knock you out, but I've got to try and knock you out where I'm not hurting you as much as what I could if I unleashed. And with the punch you said that he landed, it's not his best punch, it's his most powerful punch, right? Yep. And he's shattered his jaw in 2 places, right? So Anthony Joshua gets his 70 million, whatever it is, but I think he's sitting there thinking, thank God for that. Thank God. On a human level, I've come out, all right, I've sort of, not reputation, but I haven't hurt him as bad as what I could have.
There should be an awful amount of people breathing a massive sigh of relief. Anybody that put that fight together, athletic commissions, like you said,
it wasn't a fight.
No, it wasn't at all. Like you said, it was a prize fight. It was an event. If Anthony damages him, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stress to deal with, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's bleeding in the side of relief. The team that have put him in there, that have negotiated that for him, but the authorities that put that on and commissioned it as a proper boxing match, I've no doubt.
Does that go on his... Because
it's a professional boxing
Do you know what? If I was Anthony Joshua, I would be saying, I don't want that on my record. But for the credibility of them putting the fight on, they would have said to him, no, we've got to say this. It's been commissioned. It's going to be a proper fight. And, I found it... I love my boxing, but I just find the whole thing really, really unedifying. You said about get followers. You mentioned Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is nowhere near his level of getting like a British title fight or whatever. Nowhere near. So it's basically he's like...
Beat Jake Paul.
Right, beat Jake Paul. But so
but what I'm saying is that's 100. I stand by that, and I think Tommy would admit that. You know what I mean? To become a British champion is a very prestigious thing to do, and I think he would struggle to do that.
Rogan couldn't have been more direct about this whole situation. When those punches land, the damage is permanent, the pain is real, and there's no magic reset button when things go catastrophically sideways in that ring, and someone gets seriously hurt or killed.
And it feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make the point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. people were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his punches, partly because Jake was squirmy and rotating on the outside. Also in part because I think, as I indicated on Friday, he's watching this guy with pretty bad footwork. He was literally tripping over himself, and he realized he just can't keep this up. So, okay, so there was that. But people were acting like, how could this be? How could this have happened? Guys, on Friday's MK, and then before that, earlier in the week on Submission Radio, they asked me on Submission Radio, how do you think he's gonna fight? And I'm like, he's gonna run. And they're like, you don't think he's gonna clinch? I'm like, okay, he'll clinch at times, but then the rest of the time, he's going to run. What other way was this going to go? What other way?
Now here's where the plot thickens, because Nikisa Bidarian came forward to set the record straight, officially stating that Jake Paul and his entire camp stayed completely clean throughout this whole situation and never attempted any kind of fight manipulation whatsoever.
It just wasn't. Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there, and he was moving as such. He was staying away from him. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this athletic competition, and then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. He was fighting. Then it turns to where he can't stay away anymore. So now he's got to go the other way. He's got to go forward. So now he's clinching him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting to double leg positions. He was fighting. These guys were fighting. Jake was fighting for his survival, and you could so see it. You could see this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through, not even kill its prey, just make it through. And it was incredible. It was really incredible. So on the back end, some of the comments that I made or that I had heard were so confusing to me. It was a very good competition. I will tell you, it breaks my heart too that Anthony Joshua can't get him out of there in one round. Dave Portnoy had made a comment before the fight. He said, I like Jake. I wish well for Jake. Of course I'm taking Joshua. And then Portnoy made his point. And he said, because I believe in boxing. This isn't if I'm cheering for Jake or if I think that Joshua's more experienced or better. I believe in boxing. I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times cannot compete with the Olympic champion. Of course.
He went straight at these rumors that have been spreading like wildfire across every social platform you can think of. All these theories claiming the Anthony Joshua fight was somehow fixed or arranged beforehand. He's shooting them down as complete nonsense with zero foundation in reality. Based on what Nikisa laid out in his statement, people have been making these incredible accusations that seem to grow bigger every time they get shared, including this viral post claiming there was some secret deal for Joshua to go easy on Paul and avoid a knockout. He broke down in detail how Joshua showed up ready to fight for real, bringing his A-game through every single minute of that contest, completely ignoring whatever imaginary agreements these theorists keep talking about. Nikisa stressed with total certainty that Jake put in the work, showed real heart in there, and faced genuine danger every second he spent across from a legitimate championship-level fighter. He also made it clear that they're taking legal steps against people spreading these false stories across different platforms. For Nikisa, getting the truth out there is essential for protecting Jake and his team's reputation, making it obvious to everyone watching that this was a real fight with real stakes, and all this talk about predetermined results is pure speculation based on nothing concrete. Alright, so building off what we just covered, we've got to dive into what Joe Rogan said straight to Jake Paul's face, because he delivered this incredibly serious message telling Jake to never pull anything this dangerous again. Rogan made it clear that Jake needs to think twice before jumping into these risky boxing situations that put him in real harm's way, hammering home with raw conviction that no achievement, regardless of how amazing it looks or how much it pays, justifies putting your life at risk. The podcast host has been repeating over and over that the threats you face in that ring are absolutely legitimate. We're looking at brain trauma, lifelong disabilities, potentially deadly results, and chasing stage contests or dangerous opponents just for clout or money could lead to permanent damage that goes way beyond one terrible night. The bottom line here is straightforward. Personal safety and making smart choices have to be the top priority for anyone fighting, whether they're famous or not, whether they have millions of followers or none. Matthew Stern jumped in with this comprehensive breakdown of the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, spending time breaking down the incredibly strategic preparation and tactical approach that shaped every move inside those ropes. He dove deep into how the fight unfolded exactly as planned, with Joshua's corner making the smart choice to focus on patience and controlled aggression instead of throwing wild haymakers that could create openings for counterattacks. Their game plan from day one was to systematically break down Jake Paul's defenses, methodically finding his weak spots and pushing his endurance to the breaking point before unleashing those crushing finishing combinations when the timing was perfect. Stern made the point that this measured tactical approach represents what elite professional boxing looks like at the highest levels, where long-term success depends on mental discipline, perfect timing, and strategic execution, rather than just swinging for the fences and hoping something lands. Every moment of the contest, based on his breakdown, was deliberately managed to keep complete control over rhythm and ring positioning, while steadily building dominance as the rounds progressed. This strategy shows how mental preparation, fight planning, and boxing IQ frequently matter more than pure punching power when it comes to who wins and who loses. Based on Stern's professional evaluation, this tactical approach didn't just deliver the win from a technical standpoint, it also perfectly demonstrated the genuine artistry of boxing as this thoughtful intellectual battle where careful execution and smart decision-making define greatness and distinguish veteran professionals from newcomers who are still figuring out the fundamentals. Adam Keterall entered the discussion with this brutally honest evaluation of the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul contest, and he definitely didn't sugarcoat anything in his review. He highlighted the serious problem that today's boxing faces, where fame and online influence increasingly determine big fights instead of actual talent and earned opportunities through proven performance. Keterall made a compelling case that Jake Paul's meteoric climb through professional boxing ranks has way more to do with his enormous online following and celebrity brand than any real technical ability or legitimate experience facing quality opposition in actual competition. According to Keterall's thorough analysis, even when Anthony Joshua was clearly pulling his punches and avoiding his most dangerous attack sequences, he still demonstrated incredible ring control, flawless timing, and pinpoint accuracy throughout the entire fight, connecting with shots that dealt significant damage and exposed just how enormous the skill gap really was between these competitors. This obvious difference sparked widespread discussion that various elements of the contest might have been affected by outside influences and business considerations rather than pure athletic competition and sporting honesty. Stories spread quickly through boxing circles that Jake Paul allegedly tried to control or influence the tempo and structure of the match to reduce his exposure to serious harm while keeping up good appearances for his public image, highlighting these growing worries about how celebrity boxing increasingly puts show business and entertainment ahead of genuine competition and legitimate athletic achievement. Keterall's insights really highlight how these publicity-driven spectacles can seriously compromise competitive honesty, shifting all the emphasis toward entertainment factor and commercial appeal instead of real skill, tactical brilliance, and the core principles that have always made professional boxing respected as a legitimate sport. Sam Jones delivered this completely raw and honest response to the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight that really speaks to what serious boxing enthusiasts were feeling, pointing out that the contest was genuinely tough to sit through from beginning to end, and not because we were seeing these incredible back and forth wars that keep you glued to your seat. Instead, it was painful because of the obvious technical shortcomings that were constantly visible throughout the entire encounter. He laid out in pretty harsh terms that Jake Paul had major problems with basic boxing fundamentals that any legitimate professional should have locked down long ago, including essential defensive skills like effective head movement, keeping a tight guard, executing clean footwork and positioning, and responding appropriately to Joshua's attack combinations when they develop. These constant mistakes and technical gaps created this ongoing feeling of mismatch throughout the whole fight, repeatedly emphasizing the undeniable difference in experience, ability, and fighting intelligence between these two athletes. People watching closely observed that certain moments in the contest looked almost planned or practiced, as though the action had been quietly directed or controlled to keep both fighters from facing excessive danger or getting into situations that might cause real complications. While Jake Paul clearly invested serious training hours and effort getting ready for this contest, and nobody's doubting his commitment on that front, Jones indicated that the clear mismatch in natural ability and ring awareness, combined with these supposed hints of controlled pacing and planned sequences, led to this viewing experience that felt genuinely uncomfortable for those expecting real competitive drama and authentic sporting excitement. The contest really exposed the fundamental problems of combining celebrity status and social media fame with professional-level boxing competition, showing in clear terms how spectacle and entertainment can sometimes completely replace actual skill and genuine competition, leaving committed fans wondering about the legitimacy of these events, where performance and showmanship meet. So obviously, Chael Sonnen expressed some serious concerns about this entire matchup, emphasizing with real worry that contests like this are way too dangerous to be happening under what most would consider standard competitive conditions in boxing. He painted the fight in these striking terms as feeling less like genuine athletic competition between two fighters testing their abilities and more like this frantic fight for survival, where both the physical risks and the career implications were dangerously high for everyone participating. Sonnen stressed with genuine urgency that when amateur fighters choose to face elite professionals who've dedicated their entire lives to mastering their skills, they're exposing themselves to truly dangerous situations that could lead to permanent damage or death. The alleged scripting concerns involving Jake Paul, combined with these extremely dangerous matchups that probably shouldn't get approved anyway, really amplifies the problems we're witnessing throughout celebrity boxing. From Sonnen's viewpoint, this expanding trend of mixing celebrity culture and social media fame with serious professional athletics creates major dangers, not just for the credibility and respect of boxing as legitimate athletic competition, but also for needlessly putting participants at risk in ways that earlier eras of the sport would never have accepted. Boxing experts and analysts watching the contest observed that Jake Paul's fighting style throughout the match seemed strangely defensive at critical moments, which generated all kinds of questions about his real motivations and what was actually happening inside those ropes. While some interpreted this defensive mindset as simply smart, careful strategy for someone fighting well beyond their true experience level, other observers and critics suggested that specific moments and exchanges seemed almost rehearsed or arranged beforehand, structured specifically to let Joshua control and dictate the action without putting either fighter in extreme danger or creating situations that might get out of hand. This reading allegedly matches up closely with those ongoing rumors that Paul tried to manipulate and control the rhythm in specific moments of the fight to shield himself from severe injury while simultaneously maximizing the entertainment factor for the huge audience tuning in. These fighters weren't participating in what most would call a genuine boxing match in any traditional sense. That wraps up today's coverage, and honestly, we went through tons of material here, breaking down this controversial contest and all the surrounding chaos. Keep watching for what comes next, because this story definitely isn't finished yet.